Welcome to SternCenter with your anchors, Brendan
and Brian, bringing you all you need to know from the world of NBA recruiting.
We've got Adrianne posted up on the sideline outside of 550, and we'll be bringing in experts throughout the show to provide you instant analysis.
So on the docket for tonight, we have a Goldman presentation that's just finishing, some American Express interviews that did not go so well, and McKinsey's second round's just being announced. But the top story tonight is obviously the big Goldman Sachs presentation that is just wrapping up. Let's take you down to the sideline with Adrianne Henderson. Adrianne, what do you have for us?
Thanks, Brian. I'm here with Rebecca Harrison. She put up big numbers today. She was in 13 different networking circles, grabbed 6 business cards, and I hear she was out there and asked 2 questions. Rebecca, tell us, please, how did it go today?
Sorry, just sending off a final thank you email, and great.
Okay. How did it go?
Yeah, so I think it went really well. I talked
But
to a
you
lot
know
of...
what? Our audience really wants to know, are you going to get the job?
Yeah, I really
I think that's a no, guys. Back to you, Brian, in the studio.
Wow, Adrianne, that kid is obviously performing in the upper right quadrant.
You've got that right, Brian. In other news, the results of some interviews have started to trickle in. One NBA one who had a particularly disappointing day was Phil DeGrauchi. Here's what he had to say after an interview with American Express that did not go too well.
Phil, how do you think it went out there?
So I think it went pretty well, to be honest. I was asked what my 3 greatest strengths were. First greatest strength, counting to 3. I can do it, no problem. Second, bench press. Big bench press guy. See these bad boys? Like, obviously. And third, following through. I complete the task like, my 3 greatest strengths. A little more soap there, buddy? Thanks, appreciate it. Feeling good. Think next week I'll get some good news and pretty excited for it.
Wow, well, it looks like that NBA won chalked up an NBA loss.
Let's now go to OCD's post-interview press conference to hear their perspective on those American Express interviews.
But the thing is, I can only do so much with limited talent. We're not dealing with Stanford MBAs here. The end result was closer than it seems. Came down to a lack of execution. You can't look past trap interviews like this one. So we'll have to go back to the drawing board after this one. I don't know what it means. Maybe changing the font on the name tag if we're desperate. Student's tie color was all wrong. And if you saw his haircut, he clearly didn't listen to anything we taught him during Ignite.
Well, it's not like we're dealing with Stanford's career development department now, are we?
Let's head back out to Adrianne to get Goldman's perspective on that corporate presentation tonight.
So because it's finance, you're so super busy, how do you fit a corporate presentation into such a crazy tight schedule?
That's easy. I skipped compliance training today. Boring!
Well, thank you very much for that report, Adrianne. In addition to Goldman Sachs, we also had a Toys R Us presentation tonight. Let's get the latest word on that. What's that? Doesn't sound like anyone showed up.
No one?
No one.
Well, sounds like that's less people there than at a 9 a.m. stats class then.
You could probably call them Toys R Us.
I see what you did there.
Thank you.
Well, in anticipation of the big McKinsey case interviews next week, we have our in-studio expert, Sonia Marciano, here to break down all of that action. Sonia, what are some of the things these MBA ones can focus on when approaching their cases?
Sock puppet the shit out of it.
Well, that is certainly clear advice, Brian.
And that advice is about as valuable as the advice most consultants give.
Low variance and low weight indeed.
Well, that's all we have for you tonight. Next time, we'll bring you a rare and exclusive interview with a student who's recruiting for a not-for-profit firm. What an interesting life choice that is.
And also, we'll see if we've heard any results from off-campus recruitment yet, but probably not. And lastly, an undercover report on what is actually in that Sosnoff coffee.
I drink that coffee.
Well, signing off for us tonight, this is Brian.
And I'm Brendan. You have a good night.